Hi everyone, welcome back to Good or Good Enough. So I finally saw Fantastic Four First Steps, and here's my little review. What happened in Fantastic Four First Steps? Set against the vibrant backdrop of a 1960s-inspired retro-futuristic world, the film follows Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm as they face the most daunting challenge yet. Forced to balance their roles as heroes with the strength of their family bond, they must defend Earth from a ravenous space god called Galactus and his enigmatic herald, the Silver Surfer. And if Galactus' plan to devour the entire planet and everyone on it weren't bad enough, it suddenly gets very personal. So a quick summary for this film is that it is an hour and 55 minutes long. Does feel kind of quick, but like at times it seems to drag a little bit. It does seem like they cut off some of the movie. There's a rumor that there were 30 minutes cut from this film, so we'll see if that is true. Marvel doesn't do extended cuts or director's cuts, so it's probably not going to happen. I would say sometimes this film does feel slow. It is more on the scary side because of the situation. Does make it come off as kind of like a horror film in a way. I'd also say that this film is a complete opposite of Superman in terms of what Superman goes through. Fantastic Four, they don't really go through all the stuff that Superman went through. They mostly cover a lot of it in the first opening montage of what they've done, so they get that out of the way with the montage. It's simple and straightforward, I would say. It's not really a complex story. There's really no twist in it, other than the end, if you consider that a twist. In my opinion, I don't think these characters are really too challenged in a way, so they don't really go through real tests, in my opinion. Again, it's quite serious. It has some moments of humor, though, which is good. Nice dialogue. After seeing it, Pedro Pascal definitely does, I would say, I don't know if he fits the role, but he is good with the role, and he does a lot with the material, with what he's given. And everyone else fits their roles, in my opinion, too. They're all good. I like that they went with the smart approach with Johnny Storm. He's not kind of like a hothead in a way. He is kind of actually intelligent and does some of his own investigation and actually contributes to finding out what to do and everything. So it is pretty cool that they went that direction with him. Overall, I say it's not a bad film. It's good at times. They're not as challenged as they should have been. And it kind of culminates in, I would say, kind of like an issue-ridden ending where, if you know the comics, you'd be like, it was that easy? And then it also does seem like it's super rushed. They really are trying to get this world situated so it's prepared and everybody knows what's going on for Doomsday and Secret Wars. It's just so rushed. I think that this movie should have been a sequel, and the first one would have set it up. They could have even done a part 1 and part 2. So I recommend this film definitely on its own, because it's as its own story. It's definitely cool for what it is. As well as if you want to see some really good filmmaking, I definitely recommend this film. And now we'll get into spoilers for this film. So basically, no big twists happen in this film. Galactus kind of pulls a Thanos, and he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. So he has the Fantastic Four have decided to teleport the Earth away, but Silver Surfer comes through and destroys everything. See, like that. So she destroys everything, and they manage to get her to stop except for one of the teleportation machines. So at the end of the film, they've basically evacuated everybody. They decided to lure Galactus to the planet to teleport him away instead with the remaining teleportation machine that the Silver Surfer didn't destroy. So he finally, he wakes up and gets up. He's like, fine, I'll do it myself. So he goes down. He's like, give me your child. I want a child. Typical Galactus shenanigans. So yeah, he is there. He decides to go do it. This is the teleportation machine that they have left. So they do that. Galactus arrives. He jumps down. They battle him for a while. Pretty weird stuff. He just goes through. They finally get in there. They lure him to Franklin. They trick him. They switch out the little thing that he's in. Johnny flies to the place, puts the little Franklin there, nice and safe. Flies back to the action until Reed has trouble luring him there, and he realizes that, you know, maybe the baby is not there, and he looks and finds that the baby is over there instead. Pretty cool stuff. And then he keeps going towards there. They chase after him some more. They do more stuff, more cool shots and everything. At the end, Galactus is able to get Franklin. He has him there, holds him up, yells at him with his big face, makes his way somewhere else until Sue uses her powers at full strength and holds Galactus back. Reed notices this and tells her to stop exerting her power so much, or I'm assuming he knows something's going to happen, like she'll die from it. They open the portal and Sue manages to use all of her power to push him in there. They think he's in there until he comes back out, and then we forget that Johnny or that Silver Surfer is somewhere. So we get tricked that Johnny Storm is going to sacrifice himself until the Silver Surfer comes through and switches places and pushes Galactus into the portal, saving everyone. Then they see that Sue is dead. They put Franklin on top of her, and then we see him kind of technically use his powers, and she comes back. So, and that's pretty much it. No twists really. Like, oh, she's gonna die. Oh, she's fine. You know, typical Marvel death nowadays, how they do it. That's pretty much it. If you know the story of Galactus, there's no beating him. They would have had to make a deal with the guy. And that's pretty much all the spoilers for this film. And now for my favorite moments. The first one can be this part here, where they reenact the comic book cover of one of their famous comics from back in the day. That's pretty awesome. The relationship between Ben and Johnny are pretty cool. They're definitely, I'd say, pretty well written. This part's funny where they baby-proof the house and they keep not knowing like what Herbie's doing, or like something causes an issue to Ben or Johnny. Like this part of secure all the fire alarms, and then Johnny shows up and he, I think, triggers them or something. Pretty hilarious. A lot of the moments of tech are really cool. How they visualize what the tech would have looked like back then is really awesome. The sci-fi edge to it is pretty cool. Another favorite moment is that they wrote Johnny to be more smarter in a way. He actually does some investigation of his own to see who Shala Bal is and why, who she is, who her character is, how she became the Herald of Galactus and all that. Again, a lot of the parts with Herbie are hilarious. This part where he's carving the pumpkin is pretty funny. He's super fast at it. Very adorable moments. Herbie's pretty cool. This part's funny too. Johnny shows off the little action figure in the cereal box, and Ben takes it and crushes it. So funny. Silver Surfer's intro is pretty cool. They definitely polished up her CG between the first trailer and here, because she looks way more crisp, I would say, and more worked on. It's obvious it was ones before were version 1. This is version 4 or something. This part's pretty cool too, when Johnny goes up to try to go after the Silver Surfer, and she gets close and the reflection of Johnny is on her. So they definitely polish those graphics up, and Marvel does those little random moments of trippiness, crazy perspective shots and stuff like that. More of the Johnny being smart stuff. He tells Sue that he's decoding the language or something. Ben and Reed have a nice little dialogue, kind of a good relationship. I like that it's written that way. Reed does really feel bad about what happened to Ben, and Ben tells him not to worry about it. This scene is cool too when they first go to where they suspect Galactus is at, and they don't understand why the heat signature is in the middle, and as they get closer to it, they begin to find out that it's Galactus's ship going through the planet. Like he's actively eating the planet right in front of them. It's very, very scary, but this is their intro to Galactus. And then the beam part, the tractor beam stuff, it's pretty cool. And they basically tractor beam them into the ship. And then, of course, this shot too, because you don't know where Galactus is. And then he finally makes himself visible and comes forward. Those shots are cool. It's just, yeah, every shot with Galactus is really awesome. I would have liked to see him more, like to actually see him walk around, I guess. Another shot of Galactus standing up. Very cool shots, so cool. Just shows how huge he is, how absolutely monstrous he is. Crazy cool. This scene is pretty cool too, when Franklin is born. Very dramatic. Ben basically delivers the baby for them. Very cool scene. This scene where Galactus shows some of his telekinesis in this control, grabbing Shalabal just without even, almost barely even moving. A good part is when Sue gives her speech to the public and then basically lays down like how she's feeling. She's not going to give up her child for the world, but she's not going to give up the world for her child, whatever, something like that. Really cool. I like that part. The part where Johnny actually goes through with his little plan to kind of talk Silver Surfer seemingly out of her helping Galactus. In doing so, he does kind of find out a little bit about her. She's very impressed by it, and that does come handy in the end when it does the fake out of Johnny he's gonna sacrifice himself, and then Shalabal pushes him out of the way and sacrifices herself. So it does tie into that because it does see that she can change. So again, though, the writing is basically kind of hinges on her a little bit. So, I mean, the same thing with the old one when Norrin Rad did kind of the same thing too. Another favorite moment that unfortunately they cut a lot of his stuff out is Paul Walter Hauser's Mole Man, and he definitely like actually expressed how he didn't like that they removed a lot of his scenes, as well as Ghost, Red Ghost. They cut his stuff, I guess. You see his super apes. You see one of them at the beginning, but that's it. I don't think his role would have been as prominent as Mole Man's role, because they asked Mole Man to basically take everybody down into Subterranea and keep them safe. So there's no one can get hurt on the surface when Galactus arrives. The shots with Galactus are really cool. Pretty much every scene with him in it, basically. Crazy that we actually get to finally see Galactus on screen for once. And he's not a cloud. He's not anything other than a gigantic actual figure, and like Galen from Ta, and not a cloud from a rainforest or something like that. Like it's actually Galactus. He has this like everything ray, basically. It's like it's X-ray, thermal, zoom, search engine, Google. It's everything in one. It's pretty awesome. And he stomps through the city. All of these shots are crazy cool. They really they made it look really good. All the reflections and stuff. The graphics, everything. It looks comic booky at times. So it's got all of that going on for it for sure. Especially just everything when they're trying, like this part in the little blue thing on the right, you can see Galactus approaching it and you see his reflection. So I mean, it's so cool. Things I'd fix in this film. I think I wanted to see more of Galactus. It's like they should have seriously just had him be the villain of the second film, and the first film would have set it up, I think. I also would have liked to see Galactus use more of his powers. He can do so much stuff, and at times you're just like, Galactus is that weak? Come on. Like, that makes zero sense to me. I don't know why they did that. He should have won as well. He literally should have beat them until they have to make a deal with him, and that would have solidified how much of a threat Galactus really is, because they just don't utilize who he is. He's like, he can be even crazier than Thanos. And I think that Galactus should have won. They should have had, at the end, Galactus gets Franklin, and he does actually destroy the Earth. And Fantastic Four are forced to leave or fly to another timeline or something, looking for the Thunderbolts or something. So yeah, Galactus was definitely nerfed. Sue was able to push him just like easily. I'm sure they are all able to have immense power when needed, but for it to be this convenient that Sue is the one who's able to push Galactus, and Galactus doesn't even think to get bigger or to use his powers or to teleport himself. He can do crazy stuff. He had the baby already. He already has Franklin. He could have gone further with destroying everything. It would not have mattered. So yeah, I just think, yeah, Galactus could have been a little bit better. It is better than kind of how they did Red Hulk in the Captain America Brave New World film. They have him in it a little bit more prior to him showing up at the end of the film. Unlike Red Hulk is literally only in it at the end of the film. And then the other person who is a little bit disappointing with his powers would be Reed Richards. He doesn't stretch as much as like you think he would. He can do like everything, like even shapeshift himself, but he just does basic normal stretching in this film. And it looks good. I would say the stretching does look fine. You can hear his sound, the sound of the stretching as well. It's pretty awesome. I would have fixed this part though too. They do this stupid, oh, you're late. Oh, what do you mean I'm late? Joke. And it's just like, come on, we've seen that enough. The other part that I would fix is when they decide to transport or to teleport the Earth away from instead, like right as they're gonna do it or whatever, or it kind of gets close to being done and actually going through with it, the Silver Surfer arrives and destroys everything. And I don't understand how they wouldn't have tracked it beforehand, or even have had the thought that that would have been a possibility. Somebody should have been like, hey, you know, like, what if that Silver Surfer shows up and destroys everything? You know? Or at least, like, I guess what it is that they put her in that wormhole and she comes back, but it's too convenient and coincidental that, like, she comes out of the wormhole. I think Reed states that she's going to be gone for weeks or 30 days or something. So they technically do this whole thing during this 30 days thing, and I guess right now, at that moment, happens to be day 29 at the last moment, while Silver Surfer is somehow able to get out of there and make her way back right at the exact time that they're going to teleport to Earth. It's just, I get the similar coincidental things that's supposed to happen in film, but that one is way too coincidental, way too convenient. They should have had they should have found out that Galactus can track them no matter what, and then they're not going to do that. Instead of the Silver Surfer destroying everything, that would have, I think, worked a little bit more. Another thing I would have fixed is them apparently making Sue Storm the strongest. Like I just said, I'm sure they can all exert their power like even more than they are, like, so like they could go further, like supernova, like Johnny Storm can do supernova. He can go really hot. And the same, I guess, with Sue, but her being strong enough to push a space god into a portal, really? I mean, she didn't do it in the end. she did help and do like 80%. Silver Surfer did put the cherry on top to actually successfully push Galactus into the portal. And they also made the Thing like a mini Hulk in a way. He picks up a crane like nothing and throws it. I think I maybe would have also fixed the final plan that they come up with. The first one is that Reed wants to teleport the whole Earth away, right? If Galactus is really that big, and to him, Earth is like this, and then the sun is like this, to him, you're not moving that far. You're going to move over there. And he's going to be like, he's going to watch a planet go from here to there. And if he has technically Google Maps right now or something, he's searching for you, whatever, he's probably got a tracker on the planet, and he's probably able to watch and see where the planet goes. If it's Earth, he's probably bookmarked it for sure. He's probably like, hey, this is a really cool planet, bookmarked. They would have to delete their their footprint, their carbon footprint, like where they are. If Galactus goes to this solar system and he sees it and he's like, let's see, isn't there a planet that's supposed to go here? And he's gonna be like, it's that planet I'm after. So I don't think that this would help. At some point, they're gonna have to teleport the planet back or do another plan. So I think I would have fixed the plan a little bit. And back to the beginning thing I was saying is that about Galactus, I would have shown him more. I don't get why they didn't show more of Galactus. I know they wanted to keep him hidden or whatever, but they kind of went all that way with Thanos and showed like him doing other stuff, casually walking, doing other things. So they could have done that with Galactus. Apparently, there's rumors that there's like 30 minutes cut from this film. Online, you can find concept art from this movie, and a lot of it is about of Galactus. There's one showing that Galactus is walking down to where this little thing that he gets in, like a transport unit, and he gets into that, and the stills depict him walking to it, getting in it, it flying down to Earth, and then in the movie, we see the shot of him jumping off of something into the water. We see the craft that he's in, which matches the concept art, so we know that has to be from that shot. And Galactus jumps down, and it looks like that whole part was edited like heavily. They removed most of the parts of him, or the shots of him getting in the little transport ship and coming down to Earth, because it looks like he just jumps from somewhere and lands in the water. I know it's nitpicking, but me as like a nerd, I would have loved to see that. Just the super nerdy stuff of this movie, which is what I was saying. In contrast to Superman, they don't do all of that. It is kind of toned down, and I think that that would be like last minute cuts they did. They said, "Hey, let's remove all of Red Ghost and Mole Man. It's too much like Superman. We don't want that part, so we're just gonna keep it more like grounded in a way. Even though you have a gigantic space god after little babies, I don't get how they're going to justify that. And in the end, I would have changed a big part of it. Johnny Storm is going to sacrifice himself, and they should have done that. They should have had him actually sacrifice himself. It would have made more sense than Shia LaBeouf could become part of the team, and you think Johnny Storm is gone forever, and he returns at some point in the future in another movie, like usual. It's too convenient that, it makes sense that Franklin would, is able to save Sue or bring her back. But he's an infant. Yes, he probably, I guess, controls his own power or whatever. But it's too convenient, and they needed the Vanessa Kirby to come back or something. And it's just like, unlike DC, they protect their characters. DC actually has people die. Like, people are actually dead and they don't come back, which is really cool because you don't know who's next and you don't know how permanent this stuff is. It really it's really good to, like, when that happens, because you see, like, oh wow, the stakes are really high. Anything can happen to anyone. But in Marvel now, that doesn't happen. Like, oh, Sue Storm's gonna die. No, she sacrificed herself. Oh, that's fine. Franklin has powers of resurrection and brings her back. We're good. So then what loss did these characters experience? They didn't lose anyone. They could have done that. They could have had Johnny Storm go through the portal in the first one. And in the second one, they have to go back to Galactus, and we see more of Galactus, and then Johnny returns. That classic, just like that, but it would have made this movie more impactful rather than what we got. That's pretty much all I'd fix in this film. Just some writing issues, really. Some character issues. There's really no conflict. If somebody was trying to break these Fantastic Four up or something, maybe Galactus sends the Silver Surfer on another mission to break them up somehow, and they take Reed Richards and clone him, and Reed Richards starts acting weird and really mean and tears them apart, and they all get offended and they leave, and at the end, the real Reed Richards returns, and they don't know what to believe. And now the team is really offended, they hate him, they don't trust him, and then he finally reveals the plan of how to save Earth, and they trust him, and they're all fine again. And then on top of that, Sue dies, or Johnny is lost and seemingly dies. That would have been really impactful, and I think it would have resulted in a better film. How did this film look? It looked amazing. Incredible aesthetics, the colors, everything looks amazing. The style, perfect. Definitely eye candy. Every shot is just vivid and beautiful. I'd also say the sound is very awesome too. Galactus's voice, Ralph Ineson, his voice is so bassy and so incredible. It rumbles the floors. I wonder how much if they changed, like if they turned up the bass, because he himself has a very bassy voice. It sounds like they didn't do anything. He describes it as he learned to speak lower and use more of his like lung power. So yes, great sound in this movie. Excellent. The end, my favorite score is the final score when Sue is pushing Galactus into the portal. That is so cool. The orchestra it sounds so good. The score is amazing. It's really like a scary, perilous moment. Even though you know it's going to happen, the song is great choice of the score. And now for my final thoughts. I'd say it's super forced. They didn't need to do this. This could have been a part 1 and part 2 film, I think. They didn't need to force this so much. They should have written in a way where Galactus either does destroy the Earth, or he is forced to leave and not destroy the Earth because he can't get Franklin. Maybe they've made multiple fake Franklins somehow, and the real Franklin is actually really hidden behind things like lead and thick concrete, and stuff that Galactus can't use his powers to look through. That would have been a little better, I think. The last part of the plot says, and if Galactus planned to devour the entire planet and everyone on it weren't bad enough, it suddenly gets very personal. That's the mid-credit scene where Dr. Doom from the back is seen from the back. It makes it sound like he's in the movie. Yeah, I thought Dr. Doom would be in it a little bit more. Maybe he calls Galactus to the planet or something. And it's only in the end where we find out that it gets very personal for them. That's when Dr. Doom shows up at the end. And he's just somehow in the house, too. See, the final scene is this, though. And they really just added it in out of, like, unnecessary. Like, she basically walks away from Franklin. She returns, and then she sees someone or something is near Franklin, and she becomes all protective. And then we see that it's Dr. Doom, supposedly, which this is a scene that they filmed recently. So it's new, and they added it in. Yeah, they should have used this film to introduce Dr. Doom, and he's the villain, and he leaves. And the second one is Galactus, because they're just shoving Dr. Doom in here out of nowhere. Just an extreme sudden pivot to a new villain because Kang wasn't hitting hard enough. And this is the result. a strangely forced film. I didn't understand how the whole world is ran either. This Fantastic Four seemed to be like the only leaders on the entire planet or something. They seem to do everything. They're the government, they're the military, they're the police officers. They're like everything. I know they're part of the nations or whatever, but you never see any other leaders but them. Again, the thing with the people turning on the superheroes trope is kind of weird. They did it in Superman. Everybody switches really quick, like, oh, we can't trust you. It's like, okay, all of a sudden, and then this one does it too. They all switch or flip on the Fantastic Four, like, give up your child for us. And then, so I don't get that. It's kind of weird. It's like, it seems forced again. I think Dr. Doom should have been in it. He should have been working with Galactus, and then allows Galactus to get Franklin, or takes Franklin for himself and somehow kills Galactus. That would be cool, because they're apparently gonna reenact the comic book shot of Doctor Doom ripping out Thanos' spine. So that'd be cool to see him do it to Galactus in this movie. And then to reiterate my summary of this film, it's an hour and 55 minutes, kind of quick feeling. Maybe the slowness makes it feel longer. Seems like they cut some stuff. Apparently they did cut 30 minutes of it. Does feel slow at times. This is more on the scary side because, you know, the whole planet's gonna be destroyed. Kind of has like a horror feeling to it. It almost feels like the total opposite of Superman in terms of comic book silliness. The plot is simple, straightforward. It's not as complex as Superman. Like a lot of stuff happening. I think the heroes just weren't challenged enough for the circumstances or the situation that's going on. It's quite serious though. It has better moments of humor though, in comparison to the other films as of late. Nice dialogue for sure at moments. Pedro Pascal isn't that bad. He's weird for the role, but does well with what he has. Overall, it's not a bad film. It does end in I would say, disappointing ending to it. I don't agree with it. It's super rushed. On its own, this film is quite fine though. So I do recommend this if you're into filmmaking or you like filmmaking with great visuals, great sound. And if you look at it, a very simple story. But if you know the comic stuff, you're going to be disappointed for sure. And that leads me to my final rating, that this film is good enough. And that wraps up my review of Fantastic Four First Steps. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know down below what you thought of this film, and I'll see you in my next review.